That's why individuals really come to us for truth. Now, truth is very penetrating. So you can't say it in a way that will just damage the individual that you're with. You have to say it in a way that they can digest it. But everyone's coming for truth, and the truth is what will, they say, set you free.
Hey everybody, I'm Dougall Fraser. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, if you're enjoying these interviews, do me a favor. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. I am really excited today. As you know, in the new age and self-help world, we love our tools, right? We love our oracle decks. We love our crystals. We're tapping things. We're breathing through things. But there is one form of healing work that I think sometimes gets overlooked, and it's traditional therapy, which I love. It's a huge component in my life. I am delighted today to be talking to a very well-known therapist, motivational speaker, author of the book, The Pocket Guru. Now, you've probably seen him on TV on the show, The Therapist, which is riveting. Please welcome Dr. Siri. Dr. Siri, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
I have to say, I love the show. It's riveting. So you interview people in the music and entertainment world. Well, not interview, you do a therapeutic session. And there's something beautiful about watching other people's process. But at the same time, I think a lot of Americans in general see sort of fame and wealth as the answer to all of their questions. And I find it really humbling and powerful to see people in the media and, at the top of their game, still struggling with fundamental basics that we all struggle with. Was that sort of the intention behind the show?
As a therapist, I just sit and see what unfolds. And I was sitting in front of, very achieved individuals. And money was not the problem. Fame was there in the room. And yet that wasn't why they were really there. That may have gotten them on the show. But when we just sat with them and just to see what was unfolding, there was some darkness, some shadows, some dissatisfaction, some concerns, some issues that rose to the top.
Yes.
And so I just am being present in the session with the individual. That's my process.
And that's one of the things I love, to sort of the veil or the projection of what we think of these people to be sort of dissipates. And then it just becomes a conversation between two souls who are searching. And it's really beautiful job. You hold space in a very powerful and poignant way. Your intuition is incredible.
Yes, I've been working on it for years. I meditate daily. I've been doing that now for, how many decades? A couple of hours a day.
A couple of hours. What's your process, may I ask?
I do yoga every morning and I meditate daily. And I used to be a Sikh. And that's my name is Siri Sat Nam Singh. I used to be a Sikh. I'm no longer a part of the Sikh religion, but I'm very spiritual. So I rise in the ambrosial hours every morning before the sun, and I work on myself. So it's like nobody comes to me, as I say all the time, for a party. And so I have to tune in to the light if I'm going to have people to become enlightened, to overcome their shadow, their darkness. So I have to be tuned in. I have to do my own work.
I love that you said that you work on yourself. I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a facilitator, so I still work with private clients as well. And there was a period of time where I pray and meditate before each session, and I created this illusion that that was for me, and it's not. If I'm holding space for someone, if I'm doing breath work in a session, it's certainly lovely, but it's not my energy management. It's not my energy maintenance. And what I love about listening to you and sort of tuning in and listening to your guidance is, if I may say, your energy feels really organized. It's apparent that you do the work, but tell me when that started. I think every light worker and every healer has sort of the moment where they have the calling, so to speak.
Yes.
When did you have the calling of, I want to hold space or I want to help people?
Well, I was completely lost at that particular time in my life. I was 36 at the time, I think. And I had just moved from Europe to America. My dance career had ended. I didn't have any money I didn't have any vision. I was completely lost, no concept of what I wanted to do or who I was.
Mm.
And I think that, when we come into a space like that, I call it a liminal space. It's a depth
Mm.
psychological term. When we are not in the light and really not in the dark, in between, a liminal space, it's really a reset button. And my life had to be reset. I don't think anyone comes to the spiritual path like, oh, I'm going to go meet God. Excuse me, I have 5 minutes and I'm going to go down the street and I'm going to find God. No,
I have an appointment.
I have a, it's pain.
Mm.
Is how the universe gets our attention
Mm.
when we are a little bit out of alignment with
Mm.
the call of our soul.
Mm.
And so when clients come, I just have that understanding that they're not there to tell me how great their lives are. They may,
Mm. Mm.
but underneath, I know there's a reason that they have come, that they are blind, they have a blind spot too.
Mm.
They can't see why this is happening. And that's where the intuition is very keen,
Mm. It's
where I have to be able to see the unseen.
It's interesting that you're talking about pain sort of being a catalyst for change or transformation in our being, because a lot of times if I meet skeptics or people who sort of have a
Yes.
question mark about the universe and, a higher will and sort of a direction in our life, a lot of people will say, well, why would, God or the universe or the light or whatever word you want to use, why would we be given trauma and pain? And it's interesting because I do see a link to highly intuitive people, highly
Mm-hmm.
spiritual people, usually come from a background of pretty intense trauma. I'm a sexual abuse survivor. My mother had a personality disorder. So there's reasons that I became a searcher.
Yeah.
Do you think part of the human experience, part of the spiritual experience is having trauma and pain and how we manage it? Do you think that's inevitable for all?
Well, in our culture, we're addicted to light,
Mm.
and that's an imbalance. The sun doesn't always shine.
Mm.
So the night does come. So we pathologize the darkness. We pathologize uncomfortable feelings.
Mm.
We pathologize moments which may be despairing and unsettling. And we think that the universe or the God or the light or whatever has left us. No, it's right there in that moment.
Mm.
If you come to understand that it's just one, everything that occurs to you is the divine talking to you.
Mm.
So I don't pathologize anything. It's more like to sit in it and see if we can see through it
Mm.
as to what the universe is trying to communicate to us.
Mm.
And maybe it had to come in a very unsettling manner to get our attention. Maybe it's been knocking on the door. Maybe it's sent a little feather through the air. Maybe it's
Mm.
sent a little spirit to say this. Maybe our child said that we didn't get it.
Mm.
But then that's when you have to sometimes get something that's a little bit more jolting because we have missed the signs.
Mm. It starts with a whisper. Right? It's interesting though, because you're bringing up a topic that I'm super curious about right now. So in the past 2 years, we've been sort of inundated on this planet with new energy. There's anxiety, there's frustration. And I read these articles of people popping with anger and with rage. We see images of someone shoving someone in the street for no apparent reason. We see
Yes, yes,
people losing their mind on airplanes. And
yes.
I didn't think it was happening until I recently took a flight for the first time. And I thought, maybe the news is exaggerating it. I got to Miami and there was an intoxicated woman on the ground that they wouldn't let on the plane. People were moving and getting around. So our shadow sides are really under the microscope right now. What do
Yes.
you think is going on the planet? Is this new? Has it always been there?
Well, this COVID-19, if you really sit into the consciousness that everything is the divine,
Hmm.
then unfortunately we have to look at this very disturbing virus as also communication from the divine.
Hmm.
And with every age, the onset of every age, we often have unsettling jolts that come in, like during the Piscean age. Is every 2,000 years we have a new age. With the Piscean age, which just ended or is ending, it's always questionable as to what year it really starts. We had diseases that were about the water. We had AIDS, which comes through semen. We had cholera. We had malaria, which comes from the drinking water. We now have COVID-19, which comes through the air because it's the Aquarian age. So it jolting us into a new consciousness. So all of a sudden, we have been sent home to work alone.
And people don't like that.
People don't like that. People are being restricted because people we are seeing have never really given themselves attention, at least seemingly in America, the ones that are doing these inappropriate things, and they're not comfortable with self. See, the Aquarian age is the symbol of one lone man. And so this is an age to where we have to become comfortable with the self, healed within the self. And we're seeing that people have not given attention to themselves. Consequently, there's all this stuff coming up and possessing them. So the archetype is coming up and they're being possessed by the darkness. The unresolved depression, the unresolved, all of that suppressed energy that they have not looked at is coming up. And unfortunately, it's very unsettling to see these things happen. All of these hate crimes and inappropriate actions. And
do you think there's a link to our society sort of becoming this instant gratification society? One click and you have something delivered to your door. We've sort of maybe taken for granted the fact that we can travel around the globe and travel around the world. We've been sort of 4 steps ahead of ourselves. And I love when you so brilliantly said things were taken away and we were left alone. And so that instant gratification, that sort of chemical reaction in the brain that gives us that sense of joy, although fleeting, that we were so addicted to, has shifted now. And we're going back to basic things because there's also a swell of art at the moment. People are baking and they're creating music, and there are platforms now where everybody can entertain the world if they choose. So there is beauty coming from this, abrupt train stop, so to speak.
Yes, there is. I think we've gotten addicted to all of that materialism and stuff. And so really nothing outside of you can completely make you happy. You started the whole interview off with, individuals I had seen that had all of the stuff.
Right.
But still had some inner work to do. And so with all of that stuff taken away, then you're left only with you. And if you haven't developed yourself, oh my God, you're feeling empty, unfulfilled, dissatisfied, depressed, anxious, scared, lost. And so I think it's, all of my peers right now are just overwhelmed with clients.
Yes.
It's like I have to personally email one of my peers and say, would you please take this client? I can't. I'm seeing the husband or the wife or can you please take them? And they'll go, okay, just for you, Dr. Siri. But it's like
it's fascinating. Even Kaiser, my healthcare provider, has created a toll-free number 24 hours a day where you can reach a therapist immediately because the demand is so high.
Yes. I think we're in the top 20 secure professions.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about anger work. With my clients, I talk about anger inventory, taking anger inventory and, these whispers. If a whisper is coming, what do you think most people, or what are the signs we can look at in our body and our soul and our construct of there's some anger work that needs to be done before we pop on a plane to a flight attendant?
Well, I love to get angry.
I love it. And you say it with a giggle. I love it.
I love it. I love to get angry because it's just the fire element. Now, it's how I implement or express that anger determines if I am conscious or not. Just because I'm angry doesn't mean I have to be rude or inappropriate with anyone or disrespectful, violate anyone's boundaries. But when I effectively express that anger, they're going to be elevated, and so am I.
That's an interesting perspective. When I express that anger, they're going to be elevated, and so am I.
Effectively, the word.
And do you think people are afraid that anger is going to get ahead of them, that they're going to lose control?
I just think people haven't been properly taught of how to utilize the fire element. Fire is also passion, it's creativity, it's blazing your own trail, it's exciting, it's being excited. So it's when anger comes up means there's something out of balance. Either you've been disrespected or something is trying to propel you to move forward. So it is again a sign of something that wants us to move on and to move through this. It's a moment where we are to transform ourselves as well as perhaps individuals around us. Fire transforms.
I think the confusing message, I'll speak for myself, the confusing message that I've had in my spiritual journey is that I'm a big believer in positive thought. I'm a big believer that we create our destiny. And there was a period of time where my spiritual elders, if I said that I felt sad, if I said that I felt angry, they were acting as if I was attracting that to me or calling it to me, which is not the case at all. And it's kind of false prophecy, if you will.
Can you please say that aloud twice? I hate all this addiction to spirituality. God is always good. It just makes me want to just pull out all of my hair. You know what I mean? Because it is imbalanced. It is not all about light. There is darkness in the world. How do we deal with it? All light has a shadow.
Yes.
So it's not about being positive or negative.
It's about being the observer. Yes, about being neutral. Yes. So I'm curious. We have a lot of people that watch our show that are spiritual professionals. Yes. I have always found the blending of spirit and business to be sort of a unique energy dynamic. How do you do that for yourself?
Well, we think we as individuals are the only living thing on the planet. And every business has a soul. If a business has come to you, your work is to nurture the soul of that business. And how does that business want to grow and evolve and get on its feet? So you are simply the caretaker of that business, which in turn will take care of you if you serve it correctly.
Well said. You have an amazing ability to literally see everything from the perspective of the divine. We've talked about your business. We've talked about anger. We've talked about COVID and seeing it from the divine. I'm just curious, in your personal journey, was that inherent to who you were? Was that taught in your home? Or at what point did you choose to see things from the divine perspective?
I think it's from my spiritual teacher, where I came into understanding that there's just one mind, one creation, one divine. So I see everything as that divine. Everything.
Tell me about your book, The Pocket Guru.
Well, it won the Walden Award this year for the #1 book on mind, body healing.
Congratulations.
And so interesting. I had the idea decades ago. And my friends go, "When are you going to write that book?" I said, I didn't feel it, See, the language of the soul are feelings. And I have to feel it. So, to be honest, I wrote half of the book and went on about my life. And the show came along. And then the manager one day said, Dr. Siri, do you have a book?
Actually.
In the very desk that I'm sitting at right now, I simply went into the desk drawer and said, yes, I do.
Wow. It's interesting. That's a beautiful example of detachment. I perceive that as separation from the ego. This is a body of work that came through me. Now I'm going to detach from that. Do you think part of that also comes from your journey as being an artist, being a dancer?
I think the word for me, rather than detachment, is unattached. If you're detached, that means you're cold. Like, okay, a person's over there getting hit and talked about rudely, and I'm just going to detach from that experience. That's not what I practice. Attached is like, this book has got to be published right now. This doesn't happen. I'm just. That's attached.
Right.
Unattached is, it's in the drawer. I'm neutral. God can get it if he wants it. Unattached. Dancer. You asked about dancing. No one teaches you how to make a living as a dancer. And so it's like either you're called to do it and it will be done, or it won't happen.
Because it's in you.
Like I said to a client the other day, to sort of put fire into their energy field. I said, and then, they're having a challenge, making a living. They want to be, some, body on the television or this or that or whatever. And I simply put fire into their energy field. I said, all right, today, I said, I hope it comes across empathetic. I said, I don't want to know who you want to be. I don't want to hear any more of that. We've been working together for years. I don't want to hear any of it anymore. I want to hear today, who are you? And so I knew as a dancer, I had to dance. And I had a skill and a talent and a natural proclivity for it. It happened. It also ended, and I knew that. I would like to say that I'm very self-aware. I have seen, some individuals that look like, say, don't they have a friend? Don't they have a friend who will tell them the truth? And I want to understand that word. That's very prominent in my psyche right now, truth. And I think as a healer, that's why individuals really come to us for truth. Now truth is very penetrating. So you can't say it in a way that will just damage the individual that you're with. You have to say it in a way that they can digest it. But everyone's coming for truth, and the truth is what will, they say, set you free. So I've come to understand lately in my sessions that it's sometimes very non-empathetic to collude with a client and let them think they're going to be God's gift to the screen when they should be something else. Am I making any sense? Like I get a lot.
100%.
I want to act. I want to be this. Okay.
I spend my entire day hearing, I want to write a book. I want to be an influencer, all of these things.
Okay. Well, then is that who you are? Then do it. And let's see if I don't discourage them.
Right.
I said, well, let's see if the universe will support you. If the universe supports you, voila. And if it doesn't,
maybe there's something else.
Move on.
Be unattached, be in that neutral space. I think
my work is to help you be who you are. And if you tune into that, it's just going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Which sort of circles us back to this space of we're sort of left right now with our feelings. That neutral unattachment, I think, is so incredible. Dr. Siri, I can feel your heart. Every time you talk, I just feel warmth in my chest. You're such a kind and incredible healer. How can people find you? I know people are going to want to connect with you. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Well, there's my website, www.sirisatnam.com. And that's my email on there, info@sirisatnam.com.
Perfect. And please check out the book, The Pocket Guru. If you haven't seen the show, The Therapist, it's really riveting. You can catch it on Viceland TV or on YouTube. I think it's incredible. Dr. Siri, thank you so much for being here. Everybody watching right now, let's all try to move into a neutral space. Let's try to form that energy of being unattached. Because when we become the observer, when we unattach our energy, that's typically when magic starts to happen.
I was going to say one thing.
Please.
I'm just very honored that you opened this space about being a healer, because that was the anointment I received, but I legitimized myself as a therapist. So I could officiate in that arena as a healer, because, license, all that kind of stuff. And I think a healer, rather than it's all about me, just invites the other individual into a sacred healing space and said, let's do a party do.
100%. And I have to say, all morning long, I would think about doing the intro and first describing you as a therapist, but I felt like every time I said the word therapist, what was replaced in my heart, my mind, was healer. And so
Right.
I think you're an incredible healer. Thank you for doing all of the work that you do. And thank you for coming here today. I know we haven't met before, but I'd love to meet you in person someday.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back soon.